In the Mishnah Torah, the codification of Jewish law written by Maimonides, the Rambam, he explains a law based on this week's Parsha. Back in the day when we were allowed to own slaves, if a Jew acquired a slave from another nation, it was permitted for the Jewish owner to assign back-breaking labor to that slave. But Maimonides continues, although it's permitted, don't do it. And he goes on at length, not only should you not give back-breaking labor, don't distress the slave, don't embarrass him. Give him the same food and drink that you're eating and drinking. Speak to him gently, listen to his complaints. And he reminds us, as Jews, we're the children of Abraham, so we're merciful to everyone. And God's told us that if we're merciful to others, he'll be merciful to us. That's beautiful, but it still leaves an unanswered question. How is it possible that God allows us to assign back-breaking labor to a slave? We were slaves in Egypt, and that's what they did to us. They broke our backs with labor. So how can it be okay? And maybe that's why the Rambam feels the need to go on at length to explain that although it's technically permitted, don't do it. But that still begs the question, why didn't God say, you absolutely can't do this? Don't treat a slave the way you were treated. And the answer perhaps is that God wants to treat us like adults. If a 2-year-old is yelling and kicking and screaming because he wants his 4th lollipop, you could tell him no. You're not going to be able to explain the reason. It's just a flat no. Sometimes God tells us no, not even going to give you a reason. But when that same kid turns, let's say, 20 years old and asks you what you think, you might say, I don't think you should do this. I'm not going to tell you that you can't. You're an adult. If you do it, I'll be disappointed. And I don't think you'll feel good about it. But you're going to make your own decision. And God sometimes does the same thing for us. I'm going to tell you, yes, it's permitted, but I hope you're going to think it through and realize that even though it's permitted, it's not the right thing to do. And then you won't do it. Show me that you're mature. In this instance, God wants us to think about it, and even though it's okay, not do it in order to internalize that trait of mercy. And that's why it's so important. When we ask a rabbi a question about an interpersonal issue, including a monetary one, and the rabbi says it's okay for you to do that, ask the follow-up question. Rabbi, thank you so much for answering, but I also want to know, is it the right thing to do? There you might get a diametrically opposed answer. Oh, you asked me whether it's okay to do. Now you want to know whether you should do it? Of course not. It would be inappropriate, maybe even outrageous. Certainly not the right thing to do. Just because something's permitted doesn't mean it's right. We have to always be mindful of that.